Today we're going to take a look at Head Check by Jack Lewis. Now, Jack Lewis is a contributing editor at Motorcyclist magazine. He also writes extensively about veteran-related stuff too. He's a soldier and a motorcyclist. His writing, unlike others, isn't so much about travels where you have a kind of an order to this chapter is about me traveling in this area or traveling in that area. It's more topical and it kind of bounces around. So if you've read the magazines and you may have read Jack's stuff, you get the sense from month to month in those magazines that they have sort of different topics that are being covered. And then this is a collection of some of those. There are other authors we'll get into as I keep going that are very similar to that if you're familiar. He's got an interesting perspective. It's a bit tougher of a perspective than maybe your average person, because he was a soldier. And it's been a while that I've read this, so if I've gotten this wrong, I ask for forgiveness. But he almost got shot, and I assume it's Iraq. I want to look up to be certain. Could have been Afghanistan, I suppose. It's been that went on for so long. That in one of the pieces he wrote about riding back home, which he's kind of a local boy to where I'm at, in the Oregon, Washington area. He rides around there and writes about that quite a bit. But he brought the round that almost hit him, the actual bullet, and ended up sort of making a pilgrimage back, and then he ends up throwing it into it was either a lake or a reservoir or something. And I thought that was quite powerful. I remember reading. It's been a few years since I've read it, so if I've totally destroyed that story, I apologize. But it was something like that. But like I said, his stuff is much more topical, and I really like the writing style generally. I like quite a bit. It's not quite the same as like a classic guy who's more of the Clement Salvadori type, who you could sort of picture him on an old Bonneville in old leathers with a 3/4 helmet going across a desert somewhere. It's not that kind of writing. It's more about things like going and getting a bike and having to do a rebuild on it. So you travel there and you pick it up, you put it in the van, you take it home, that kind of stuff, and discussing of motorcycling in those regards. But still very good stuff. If you've read a lot of magazines in the past, you may have be kind of familiar with the style of writing where each month they write about motorcycling, but it's more generalized motorcycling than a specific travel log. You're not traveling across the country or around the world. It's here's an interesting thing we did. We rebuilt this motor, and I'm talking about motorcycling while we discuss, some deeper life issue or whatever. And so that's kind of how I, taken it. So his subtitle here is he's got Head Check and says what it feels like to ride motorcycles. And I think that Jack does a good job, and I definitely recommend picking up a copy of this book.